Hey guys, happy morning. How are you this morning? Welcome to the Academy Answers podcast, where we discuss the questions that we get on our blog, on our social media, on happiness, success, full potential. How do you get to live a happy life? How do you get to make something of your life? A life that is not just sprinkled with a bit of fun and enjoyment and a bit of relaxation, but is mostly about happiness and a way to fit your work into your life instead of trying to fit your life into work. And these days, more than ever, we have been robbed of our life, of our true essence, because everything has changed so much and so subtle that we don't even realize what is happening to us, and then it's slowly taken away from us, because you know that famous saying, whether or not it is true, but you can understand the analogy that if you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water, it will jump right back out. But if you put it in some warm, cold, room temperature water, it will stay there. And as you turn up the heat, the frog will just stay there and slowly perish as the water come to a boil. Because if you slowly train somebody's mind or train someone's emotion into something, they're likely to accept it. But if you jump to it, then they probably will be repulsed. But it's in a lot of ways it's true. I remember this time when there was a riot in my country over gas prices. So what they're doing, they're trying to put like $6 on gas one go. There was some tariff increase, taxes, government fees and duty, and they wanted to move that price from, let's say, I think it was $5 to like $11 or some stuff like that. And the whole place came to a protest, demonstration, chaos. People are burning tires in the street. There's vandalizing places, and the whole thing came to a stop. So what the then minister, the government did at that time, they said, okay, we're sorry, we understand what you're saying, we apologize, we never looked in good enough, let's just retract this, we're going to take it right back off, and we're just going to put like 50 cents on. And they did that. And what they did after that, now everybody went quiet and everybody was fine, and they said, oh, what a lovely conscientious government. And what he did after that, the government did after that, was started to put 50 cents on, 50 cents on, 20 cents on, 30 cents on, and they gradually increase that gas price right back to where they initially jumped it to, and surpassed that, and nobody said a word. Same thing is happening with society, and I'll tell you how it's working, and it happened when I was growing up too. But let me go into the question first. So the question is, what do you think of millennials? These kids today and this generation today is horrible, and it is just so difficult to work with them, to get them to do anything, to get them to work. They're lazy, they're insensitive, they don't understand life. And I get your point. I'm guilty of saying that too. I'm guilty of shaking my head and nodding my head at them, generally. But when you start to stop to think about it, then you start to realize that there's something else. Why are they this way? And we didn't get here overnight. This generation that we speak of have parents. Somebody raised them. And it's easy to attack the parents and say, who are their mothers, who are their... And I get that too. I sometimes say that also. But I'll show you what happened when I have, after I've given it a lot of thought and I realized. And I had this conversation with a friend a while ago, some time ago, about how we grew up and what we saw and how it changed. So when we were growing up, my grandmother, by the time we got a television in the house, we used to go to other neighbors to watch a television. But by the time we got one there's no supervision in terms of our screen time and what was on TV and what we watched. There's none of that. It's just there, right? And we just watched TV. And tell you what, it was safe to do so. We could do it. It's not a problem. It was easy. The programming was fine. So people start to feel comfortable leaving their kids to watch the television shows and all this stuff. Anyway, over time, that content and information start to change in a subtle way. There are insinuations, subliminal messages being introduced, and it slowly was introduced, and people slowly were being exposed to other things, and some things started, the envelope was pushed a little bit and the line was being crossed a little bit and it was tolerated a little bit, and they slowly got a foot in terms of what they put on TV, what they put on media, the content that was there, what is acceptable, and all that started to push slowly. The guys never take a whack and just change it overnight to shock it. They slowly start to get what they want to get out there in there. And over the space of a decade and a half, going into 2 decades, they've just totally moved the goalposts 180 degrees. So the standards and the morals that they used to stand for, we used to stand for, they've slowly pushed it away. And because it was so subtle, it became okay. So what happened? We conditioned our kids at that level of the spectrum. And we weren't paying attention because we were trusting the system and society to be of a certain moral standing. And all of a sudden, it moved to another level. And while we were working, while we were trying to build a life, trying to take advantage, and trying to do all the other stuff that we were trying to take advantage of in our lives, in the new opportunities that arise, that opened up, we were missing what was happening and what was coming. And that set in, like, people used to work, go home, people used to be there to take care of the kids, moms used to be home. Now mom have to go out to work. People used to work a normal shift, come home, get their kids from school. The grandparents was there to help. Now the grandparents are in a nursing home, or the grandparents are still trying to work, and the kids are at the daycare, the kids are at the neighbors, the kids are by themselves. And we come in, we're tired, we're frustrated, and we push them to the TV, or we push them to the electronic devices, and it's left alone. So the nurturing process and how it used to happen, it's not there anymore. Now they have more luxuries, and some of us try to soothe over the absence with luxuries. We give them things, buy them clothes, buy them all the stuff that they want, all the fad, get them into fashion, get them into the trends, so that we can excuse our way for not being there. We can cover that up for not being physically there to offer that. And then we're tired too, because in today's world, we're overworked, we're over extended, we have no energy left to get things done, we are overwhelmed, we are undernourished, we are burnt out, we are underpaid, we're underslept, and we are just trying to keep up with the good times, because it is good time, but the management of the good time is poor, because there is the generation who was suddenly exposed to this awesomeness and couldn't wait to get a taste of it, because it looked like something that would never happen for them. Like those who were coming into their 30s in the 90s, and they was like, well, you know, maybe I'll take a bus to work or the train to work. But suddenly there were ways to buy a car, and there were ways to get a big house. They jumped at that opportunity because they, over their lifetime, never thought this opportunity would be open to them. So they would get it by any means necessary, just to get a taste of it. And there are those who come and see it everywhere and decided that, look, it don't matter what I go through, it don't matter what's happening, I have to get onto this, I have to get the taste of this. And then society now, it has been good for us for so long that we become soft. When conditions around us are good for a long time, we become soft. And as we become soft, then we are willing to make less sacrifice. I used to just go outside and walk bare feet and go along and do what I have to do, and it's my feet could handle it. And I wear shoes for a long time, for a couple of years. If I go outside bare feet, I would be jumping around and saying like, where's my shoes? Because I can't do it anymore. I become soft. And that's how the human experience is. That's how nature is. Our human nature makes us adjust and adapt. When I was growing up, everybody around me was poor. I never complained about not having anything because nobody had anything. Now you're growing up, everybody have cars. You're going to complain about having cars. It's not that you're bad, because everything is around you is set up that way. So you naturally adapt to that. When I was growing up, nobody have computers. Nobody know how to use that stuff. Now, if you grow up and you don't know how to use it, it's a bother. Then everybody get tried to start to use it and want to get one and want to use one because everybody has it. Because society will conform and you will want to adapt to your environment. That's a human nature. So when you look at the millennials and you want to talk about the millennials and they are disgusting and they're it is one thing to look at it that way, but it's the next thing to ask yourself, how did they grow up? Who raised them? Because we're quick to point a finger and say this and say that and say blah, blah, blah. Who raised these guys? It's us. We. The people their parents. And their parents are saying this about them and saying that about them. But who grew this? Who socialized these kids? Who grew them up? Who's responsible for them? Us. Us. Just us. And you can knock them all you want, but understand that the whole thing around their socialization is what we tolerated and what we created. Because these kids didn't get their behavior out of the blues. There's a society set up out here. And there are some nations and some groups of ethnicity that has managed to keep their children to an extent in the way they want to go, in the traditional way. But for the most part, the kids will go out there and they will meet other kids who are raised by parents. Some people say, oh, well, I didn't show them that. They went to school and they see this. And I get that. But then who raised the kids that are at school? So I'm saying as a whole, as a society, as a people, we are responsible for what the kids come out to be. Our parents are responsible for what we come out to be. It's our parents' insecurities about money. It's our parents' lack of belief. It's our parents' endeavors. It's our parents' way of and mode of doing everything that we have adopted. We're saying, my house has to be this. My place has to be that. I don't talk like that. I don't do that because our parents never allowed us to. And most of the parents around never allowed their kids to. So while you might not be responsible personally, as a people, we are responsible for how we grow our kids. So if you're off buying the child $1,000 phone when the child should be doing extra lessons or playing a piano or doing an extracurricular activity, and you should have the time to leave work and not hustle for that overtime and not work 7 days a week so you could sit by the pool and watch your child swim, but you are at work and the child is around a Nintendo, then what do you expect? If you are trying to buy the child the latest shoes and the trendiest jacket and the trendiest bag, what do you think you are teaching the child when the child come up and don't have any confidence in themselves and is waiting on some name brand to make them feel good? What do you think? You are supporting that and the society is feeding that. What do you think is going to come out of that? train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will never depart from it. If you put the snacks in the fridge and all the candies and the ice cream, and then the child is obese and overweight, what you expect? If you are overeating, eating, have bad habits, come home and drop on the couch, the child don't see you doing anything to improve yourself. All they see is what you do to give you your own self instant pleasures. What do you think the child is going to do? I'm saying a child will look at you, a child will watch what's going on, and they'll adopt and they'll model that. They'll look at the society and they'll adopt and they'll model that. Our society as it is right now is a full-on business. Everything is business, everything is money. The only guy not trying to make a fast dollar is the guy who's trying to make a faster dollar. There's a race to the bottom by everybody who is lost or misguided about what are the true values of life. Everything is about the things we can get. Because society has found a beautiful way, well-crafted, mastermind way of making us feel inadequate, and that if we buy more stuff, we will feel more adequate. And we've passed that down to our kids. And that's why we're seeing the kids operate in such ways, with less drive, less ambitions, less belief in themselves, less self-worth, less passion. It's just retracted because there's a programming that has polluted the society with a thought that today, the instant gratification, the fitting in, the doing like everybody else is doing, the keeping up with the Jones, the buying what we don't want to impress people we don't like. There's a way that air, that poisoned air, has managed to infuse our lungs and gotten to every fiber of our being. And everybody has blinkers on. They're zombies just chopping around in the world. And there's a guiding light. There's a scheme. There's a carefully woven web that of all these zombies, just going where they want them to go, just doing what they want them to do, just pulling them into the next funnel and swaying them here and swaying them there, and everybody is in a daze. People think they are choosing, but they don't have a choice. People think they're making their own decision, but that decision is heavily influenced, consciously and subconsciously. And we think we have an autonomy and we think we're our own person, but really and truly, we are being puppets, pulled by one string or another string to where they want us to go. And you couldn't get a man to wake up these days. You could not get a person to wake up because he's so dumbed out, programmed, pulled in, brainwashed into believing a set of things that is not in his own best interest or the interest of his family. And all he thinks about is what he can get now, what he can do now, what he can be now, what he can look like now. And he's faked out, half thought out, half studied, half committed. And because of that, the whole plan that he has, that he thinks he has, is not mapped to anything that resembles a good life or a better future. It is crammed into a box of putting on a face for society. And that doesn't work. And it doesn't matter how much you explain to a person that you are doing with your days, with your time, with your money, is going to keep you trapped. And they will say they see the light. They will clap, they will shout, they will say amen, they will say that's true, but they can't get themselves to do it. Why? Because there's a pull. There's a conditioning that is on them that the minute they step away from that quote, the minute they step away from that YouTube video, the minute they step away from the message, from the podcast, they're back to the old programming. Because while they were listening here, they were in default mode. They were alt mode on your keyboard. That one that you press to get the other letter. And once they walk away, they're released and they go right back into their default. And they don't have enough commitment, they don't have enough drive or determination to actually rewire their brains and thoughts. Because that's what it's going to take. Nobody can go through that process. So they're bounded and trapped and lost. And all of that is what we teach to the next generation. And that's why the next generation is like this. Because of us. Because of our generation and the one before us, this generation is this way. Because we failed, we were tricked, we were scammed, or we went to sleep, and those who have their own best interests at heart took the reins and led us here, and we subconsciously lead our children here. And we have everything to blame, we have every finger to point, and not realizing our own role in the process. Have a good day, guys. Always a pleasure. We're in trouble. We're in trouble because we don't realize that so many, we're in shackles. The chain is off our hands, but it's now on our brains. And it's an enslaved society because 90% of people hate their jobs. So it's lifestyle servitude that we're involved in. And everything is so carefully set up to get you, and you bite. You took the bait because you're all in. You're all in on your mortgage, your car, your private school, where you eat, the restaurants, the food, the impression, the clothes you wear. You're all in. You cannot afford to lose that. So you're all in. And those who have you know that they have you. So they keep pushing you and squeezing you for more and squeezing you for more and get you out there. And when it's too much, they give you a little honeypot and you feel calm again. And they have the psychological understanding to keep you there. And that's where we are today. It's sad, but it's what's happening. Have a good day, guys. Thank you.